Hello, it's Monday the 8th of April. What have we got on today? Well, we are going to be revitalising Peter's lawns. It's 3 years this year since we reseeded them from scratch. We've got a few weed grasses knocking about, but on the whole they're looking in really good condition. So the first thing we need to do before we start scarifying and spreading those weed grass seeds everywhere is remove those with our trusty fork, which I've got just behind me ready to go. So let's crack on with that and I'll show you how I do it. Alright, let's have a look at this lawn now. So if you remember last year we came middle of March, and I think we came too early, to be honest. Should have maybe left it a few weeks longer. We sheeted it and everything, but it still didn't come through as good as we'd like, just because it did stay cold for quite a while. Now, as we can see, we've got a little bit of moss which we've treated with Inhibit, just with this edge getting quite wet, always being next to the wet soil. The wood soaks it up, and then the lawn soaks it up as well, and we get moss because of the fence. Casting a shadow as well, we get the perfect conditions for moss growth. So we can see it's gone black. Got a few weed grasses knocking about. So the first job we're going to do, but before we do the annual meadow grass, which is our first job, is let's just have a look at how it looked last year, and we can see how these areas look a lot better this year. That's just we did some late treatments which have helped keep the lawn alive. So we've got some annual meadow grass knocking around. No matter what you do, you're going to get it in, but luckily because the lawn's really short, we can see it popping out, so we know where it is. We've got some weed grass here, but as we can see, if you have a look closely, there is reddish bottom, so it leads me to believe that this is some kind of ryegrass, but it's probably out of a bird feeder, and it's not a desirable kind of ryegrass at once. So we're going to just have a go a little bit, digging a few patches out, and we'll see what's left. And then if it's going to take the whole patch out, we might just repair it from a bit over in the corner, seed the corner, and re-put a patch in here, rather than having a seed patch growing in the middle of the lawn. We'll have it growing over there because it's easier to control. So yes, there's another bit of annual meadow grass there. Remember, when you're looking for annual meadow grass, nothing else grass-wise seeds this early. So that's one telltale. And remember, the other one is a little kink in the leaf, which is a genetic defect, and that's how you know it's annual meadow grass as well. So we've got that as well. Look at that. That's annual meadow grass. So let's get our trusty fork and I'll show you how we get it out. Okay, so we've got our fork, just gently put it underneath. We don't want to disturb them seeds, so you just got to prise it out. You can feel it ripping away and getting easier to pull out. And there you go, one piece of annual meadow grass. We'll just pop that there to stop any of the seeds getting back on the soil. Another piece here. Two actually. What I have got is I've brought some of the field compost number 5 just to fill in any holes that we create that need that little bit extra going back in, just because we don't want to fill a hole that size with just the field compost number 4, because it will just rot away and you'll still end up with a hole. So yeah, so that one's fine because we can just close that back up, but that one will just need a little bit of material putting back in. So let's crack on with the rest and then we can start scarifying. Alright, so I've just had a quick walk over, as you've just seen, and this is what I've dug out, and look what I found as well. Our friend the leather jacket. One in isolation isn't going to cause any issues, as you can see. You get a million of them, yeah. One, no. But guess where I found it? Like I said in one of my last videos, they love hiding away in the roots of the annual meadow grass. So that's the best place to look should you think you've got them. Just try and find a piece of annual meadow grass, dig it up, and they'll probably be hiding under there. I'm not sure what it is, whether they don't like the roots of the annual meadow grass, but they like living in them, and then they go off and eat the roots of everything else and leave the annual meadow grass behind. But that's where you're going to find them. Alright, so the next step in the lawn revitalisation process is getting on with the old faithful and scarifying. Now I know what you're saying, why you're not filling in those holes behind you that you've created. If we do that now, we'll just end up scarifying it all out, and when we rake it up, we're just going to be raking all that material that we put in back out. So we'll do that after we've scarified. So let's go and get Yield Faithful out and we'll show you what we're going to do. Alright, so this is why I love dwarf rye, because we hardly get any thatch, and already we're at the soil level. We were never not at the soil level. We've been able to get really deep and pull out what is in there. Now that's going to cut through those roots and it's going to start to regenerate with new growth added when we put the seed on with more growth. So this lawn's going to be nice and tight in a few weeks time, so looking forward to that. So what we'll do now is, because there's not that much come up, it's all gathered at the edges, I'll just rake around the edge and get the majority up, but the Allet Sterling has still got the Scarifying attachment in, so I'll go over it with that, and that's going to pick up anything the rake doesn't, but also it's going to do a better job than a bladed scarifier at getting the thin coating of moss off this surface here. Because the blades only run like 2 inches apart, obviously it doesn't drag up anything in the middle, but the Allet Sterling or the Allet Scarifier, even in the Kensington one or the Liberty, 100% coverage with the spring tines, and that will nicely remove that top layer of moss off there. And then we can get on with filling in these holes that were created before where the annual meadow grass was. Decide whether we're going to dig that little patch out up there. Peter wants to leave it, but it's like I can't, it's just like ebbing away at me, and I'm thinking I need to, but customer's always right, so we'll leave it if necessary. Then we'll get with our seed, our top dress, and that'll be this back lawn revitalised and ready to go for the summer. Alright, so I've just used the Scarifying attachment on. Let's just go around the other side. Just above 5. Don't want to go too deep because it's been a little bit damp. And that's what we've taken out. If you have a look on this left side where I just did that left stripe, it's got all that moss out. So yeah, nice one. Okay, so that's the Scarifying over and done with. Whilst we've got the Sterling out, I've just slipped the cylinder cassette back in. So we'll give it a cut and take off all that top growth just to reset the lawn, so all our new growth is coming from the base. So let's crack on. Alright, so we've just done the cylinder cut and look how much has come off. You'd have thought there was nothing on that lawn, and I just cut that at 10mm, and look at all we've got off. So that's good. So getting rid of all this top growth, like we said in the last video, if we leave that on, it's like redecorating without taking the wallpaper off. You'll get a decent job, but it's not going to be as good as if you strip it all off and sand everything down and start again. So that's what we're aiming for here, that bit of extra perfection. That's what I pride myself on when it comes to lawns. Alright, so I've just got some field compost number 5, which we're going to fill in the holes with in the lawn. Now the difference between number 5 and number 4 is that 5's got sand mixed into it, so it's got some body to it, so it's not going to blow away or rot away, and we can seed in it. Whereas if we used just the field of compost number 4 to grow seed, it's never going to get any compaction to it. It's just going to hold on to water, and it's not the best environment to grow seed in. So what I've done is I've just sprinkled a little few seeds in there. We're not even going to use all this. So literally in those patches we want 1 or 2 seeds going in, not loads. So don't go bang 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 with seed. That's not what you want, because all you're going to end up with is a big patch of seed, all diseased, all looking like needles. The key to a great lawn is to allow each plant to grow to its maximum, not its minimum. So just bear that in mind when you're seeding. Less is more. Right, so there's one of the holes. Just going to get some of my compost with 1 or 2 seeds in there, and we'll just stick it on, then we'll just pat it down. That's all we need to do. On to the next one. Okay, so the next step in revitalisation of these lawns is to get our seed slotter out. New tool this year, new tip. Been looking for something like this for years. There's a few professional ones knocking around, but they're like nearly £300. It's not worth investing. But for this, I think it was 20 quid. Well worth the investment, and here especially it's going to pay back in kind, because around here where Peter turns with his cylinder it does get quite squashed. So this is just going to open it up and allow the seed to fall in so it doesn't wash off into the borders. Because what happened last year, because we had quite a bit of rain, we had great growth in the borders but not a lot on the edge of the lawn. So this is a game changer. There's a link for it in my video description, so you don't need to ask me where I got it. Just click where it says mower and just drop down, and it's right in there. You can't miss it. I don't have anything to do with it. It's literally a link to the eBay site where I got it from. So you'll be wondering why you're selling loads at the moment if you're watching, because I sent everybody to you. So let's show you how to use it. Okay, so we're just going to put it in. It's best if your soil is quite damp. It goes in very nice then. So we're just going to create some holes for the seed to fall in. Now, like at the Wembley job, if you've got any areas of heavy traffic, you can just do multiple passes in different directions and really get some holes there for the seed to fall into. And then when you get into the areas which aren't in heavy traffic, like where we turn with the mower, that's where we're going to get the most traffic. We can just do multiple passes here. But when we get into the middle of the lawn and there's not much traffic, we can just do 1 pass like that. That's fine. So I'll crack on with the rest. Well, you don't need to watch it all because it's quite tedious. You can watch it in 10 seconds. Well, I take 10 minutes. So I'll leave that with me and I'll see you in a sec. Alright, so that's the slotter work done. Now don't get me wrong, it's a great tool but it's hard work, especially on the biceps. So luckily I've got mid-range size ones so I can get away with it. It's better if you're a bit heavier as well because you can really get some purchase. But as you can see, I'm out of breath which is unlike me because I'm generally quite fit, but that is really intense workout and I'm absolutely boiling with my black jacket on. So you can see now we've riffled up this soil. Normally we do it with a fork, but you know, to do it with a fork, you're doing it over a big area, like to do over a big area, you know, it's not feasible really, but this tool just revolutionises that, and it means that any worm casts in the future going forward, we can just, the squashed ones, we can just whip over with that. Because what I have done is I bought another one. So I'm just going to change that up a little bit. I'm going to undo the bolts, the nuts. I'm going to slide the bar out and cut down the spaces in between so I can fit another row in. So we're going to get more holes where we're going over it. It'd be harder work because obviously you're creating more like resistance, but I think to get another row of seed holes in between the ones that we've already got is going to be better going forward, so we'll give that a go. If it doesn't work, we can just take them out and go back to how it was, but everything's worth a try. Or it could be that we take the, because I've got the bigger size one, we could take the 6 small ones and put them on the big one, but I think that would create a problem because it would be over a bigger area, so your force that you're putting down will be spread over a bigger area, and I don't think you'll be able to get as much depth on it as I have here. So yeah, so the next stage in our lawn revitalisation process is to overseed. So let's do that now. Alright, so the next step in the lawn revitalisation process is to overseed. Now, one of the biggest questions I get asked is, why don't you like bents? Why don't you like fescues? Why don't you use them? Because they're for proper greenkeepers who work on them every day. They're not feasible for us because they require so much maintenance, and the disease that you get with them, it's just no good for the domestic garden. So we use the ryegrass, we use dwarf rye, which gives us the versatility of, you can leave it quite long, or if you want to, like at Wimbledon, you can cut it down to 8mm, which is only 3mm more than your average golf green, either fescue or bent golf green is cut at. So you can still get that versatility there with that, without the disease pressure that you would be under in the domestic garden, having to scarify it. I mean, if you wanted to have a go, but you just have to aerate all the time, hollow core to take away the thatch, because these little needle grasses are just generally always regenerating, and they just need so much work, and all that regeneration falls, creates thatch, and then within a couple of years you've got a thatch layer like that, and you walk on it and you're sinking. It's just no good. And because your needle grasses are really fine, you're not going to get any sun reflecting off them, and that's why golf greens generally don't have a nice stripe like the football, because your blade is a lot smaller. So if you want to give it a go, I'm not saying you can't do it, it's just that I've got my own way, I've got my process. If you want a nice lawn with a lovely stripe, then follow what I do and the results are more or less guaranteed. If you want to go off on your own and do fescue and bent, come back and prove me wrong and say you did it and it's great, and I'll hold my hands up and say I'm wrong, because I don't mind doing that. But for everybody, I think this is the most versatile seed, and that's why I use it, because I don't want you getting into something you can't get yourself out of. So I use this, but you can do whatever you want. I can only advise you, as I said in the last video when Lee Mason told me, he said, I can't tell you what to do, I can only advise you, and it's up to you if you want to take the advice. But if you have a look at my results over the last 3 or 4 years, I think I'm worth listening to. So what we're going to do is, we've got our seed all ready to go. I'm going to turn this to 32, because otherwise the seed won't fall out, because it's quite dense in there, it's quite tightly packed. If you have it on a small hole, it just won't fall out because the seed's quite big, so you need that big hole for it to fall out of. So there's no wind today, it's absolutely fantastic after the weekend where it was absolutely ridiculous, so we can crack on without worrying about it flying off into the borders and everything, and then we can get on with our top dressing. So let's go. Right, so the next step in this lawn process is what we do now is the new H2Go that we have softens the seed cut on the seed, so we get that direct on there before we go on with the top dressing. So what we do is we take the same amount of wetting agent that we're going to use on the whole lawn. So on this lawn it'll be about 70 mils, but we put twice as much water in to give us 2 sprays, so it goes on at half rate in essence. So we're going to do half now. So I'll just spray that using the guidelines that I created before, and then when we top dress we put some more on, and then that wets the compost, because that'll take in water easier then as well. We're not fleecing today, but if you were fleecing you'd have to put 3 times the amount of water in and do it over 3 stages, but we're just doing the 2 today. So we'll just do that very quickly while we're on. Get it on, because I think it's going to absolutely throw it down shortly. Looks like it might. The sun came out briefly just before and I thought, yep, that's here, but it's gone now. It just popped its head in to say hello and then went. So I'm looking forward to seeing the eclipse later on the news that they're going to see in America. We won't see it in Bolton. I think we're just on the outside of the line, but it's getting on for 6 o'clock, so I probably missed it anyway, even if I could see it. So what we'll do now is get that compost on.
Welcome to Luxury Rattan Direct. Come and see our large range of quality garden furniture here in Bamber Bridge, Preston, or buy direct from our website with prices to suit everyone's budget and sizes to suit everyone's garden. LuxuryRattanDirect.co.uk. Shopping for garden furniture has never been so easy.
Alright, so what we're going to be doing now is getting on with our field compost number 4. We've filled in the holes with the number 5 because like I said, that's got body to it. Whereas now we're just going to go on and give this a nice coating just to give these seeds a nice little protective blanket, because it's really dark when the sun hits it with the water. It's really hot, which is going to get our seed up and running even quicker, and even quicker now we've coated it with the H2Go. So we just tip it out as normal. We don't need a compost spreader because it would just fall through. The idea with a compost spreader or a sieve is that you're sieving out, like when you do your flour, you sieve all your flour and you're left with all the lumps and bumps behind. We wouldn't have any, so we don't need to invest in one of those. I do actually like physical work. Some people don't, and they're the ones who might invest in it, but not me. So we'll crack on with this. Now I know I told you last time about me meeting Howard Webb, and I've been quite lucky in my life meeting famous people. I've not met like loads of really famous people, but I tell you, I did do Ian Dowie's garden from 2002 to 2012, 10 years, maybe a little bit longer. I just can't quite remember when they left Bolton, but they moved up when he got the Oldham job, and somebody passed me his number, and he actually rang me, and I said, oh, I'll give you a ring. And I never did, and then he rang me, and I didn't realise it was Ian Dowie. I thought it would have done. I was quite lax in those days, so I nearly lost the job, but ended up going round. I was like, you're Ian Dowie, bloody hell. So yes, I worked for him for 10 years. If he walked down the street now, he would say, you alright, Dan? Yeah, you alright? So you would know who I was, and then he'd probably go, still no as well. So yes, I've been quite lucky. Good people gave me some good marriage advice. It was good marriage advice, but it just wasn't good for me. Back in 2013, he said, I asked him, I said, like, my marriage ain't going too well. He took the time out to sit at his window and talk to me through the conservatory window, and he said, right Dan, what you want to do is you want to go home and you want to say, right, me and you, we're going out, we're having a chat. But it was like, well, I don't really want to chat to her, to be honest. That's why it wasn't good advice in the end. But it would be for others, but just not for me. But I always remember that, because he could have just said, not for me that. But yeah, took 15 minutes out of his day to make sure that everything was all right. So if you're watching Ian, it was great advice, but it just wasn't great for me. So yeah, so I'll crack on with this, and we'll see you when I've finished. Okay, so the next job we've got to do is we've got to go with our second application of our H2Go. Now what I forgot to tell you was I'm going on at 2 ml per square metre because I'm using the higher rate bottle, whereas if you had the 125 metre range you would be going on at 8 ml per square metre. So I'll just nip on over this and then we'll call this job done, I think. Just have a quick tidy up, got to put all my stuff away, and then it's time to go on and get this uploaded for you. So when you see this at this point, you'll know what I was thinking. So just get that on. Yeah, you can leave footprints behind, but it's just, unless you've got some kind of hovercraft thing or one of them things in Honey I Shrunk the Kids where he sets up on the washing line with like a hoist. If you've got one of them, use that, but if not, you have to leave footprints everywhere. So that's that done. Alright, so that's this lawn revitalisation taken care of. It really is as easy as I made it look. Obviously it helps if you've got some of the tools like the machines, but if not, there is a machine out there that suits you. I didn't fall from the sky with an Alex Sterling I have whipped my way up from a little push thing like when I was 16 or 17, and now I found myself with the sterling, so I've earned my stripes. So what we're going to do here now, just let nature take its course as normal, no feed. What we don't want to do, we don't want that existing lawn coming through with a vengeance and having to get on and cut it early before that sees a chance to take. That's not what we want. So once that is coming through, we'll get back, get all our other liquids on. What we're going to do is treat our lawns, our new lawns, like babies. You never just get a baby and start feeding it Mars bars and Snickers and God knows else what. You've got to be gentle and feed it liquids, and they're going to be nice to its body. And the same with grass. We just coax it along, and then when we've got to a point where it can cope, then we can get on with some heavier feeds and get that growth and get a nice strong plant. So if we go on too early, all we're going to end up with is a weak plant, and that is not what we want. That's just going to get disease and flatten down, and we're not going to get a nice stripe because it's not going to be strong enough to stand up and be cut when we get on and cut it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time when we'll be doing something else lawn related. And don't forget the 10% discount code for the field compost if you want it. It's there for everyone to use. You go direct to them for that, fieldcompost.co.uk, and that is us done. So we'll see you next time here on Daniel Hibbert Lawn Expert. Bye for now.